Caleb Moore. Here's my audience. Alright, my speech, I did corn-fed versus grass-fed beef. Corn-fed beef is the modern, efficient, healthy way to finish beef in today's production agriculture. Feeding corn and other grain products to market cattle speeds up the finishing process. Speeding up the finishing process allows you to produce more steaks and more healthy steaks. Producing more steaks means making more money for the producer as well. Making more money means you can buy more steers and always have constant input and output. Finishing with corn produces a more desirable steak. Corn produces a much more juicier steak in that steer or fat heifer. The corn produces more intermuscular fat or more fat which lives inside the muscle. More fat in the muscle means the cut of meat will be more tender and taste like a good steak should. Grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is raised in a calf and only able to range on pasture or eat hay in the cold months. The calf never eats a kernel of corn or any sort of grain during its life. To finish a calf on grass-fed practices, it takes 12 to 14 months just to finish one grass-fed steer. Only consuming forage its entire life produces no fat in the meat, which in my opinion makes the beef taste like venison or very, very gamey and very watery. According to the USDA, for the month of October 2015, a grass-fed sirloin steak costs the consumer $10.40 to $15.22. And then when it takes 12 to 14 months just to finish one steer, and you make that kind of money per steak, I'd say that's pretty foolish and wasteful. Grass finishing beef is such a long process, and it produces a poor quality steak. Now that we've seen the process of grass-fed, let's take a look at corn-fed practices. There are 3 steps in the corn-fed finishing. First step is calving. Typically, a cow will calve in the barn, so that way she is easily accessible by the farmer if she has difficulty calving. Once the calf is weaned, it will receive a couple of shots and be tagged. Once the calf is strong enough to go out in the pasture, the cow and the calf are kicked out there and will graze the pasture during the summer months. Grazing. During the summer, the cow and calf graze all day and every day. Cows are fed grain every day just to keep their milk production up and keep them at a good weight because just grass will not support a cow nursing a calf. Creep feed is also available to the calves, so that way they are introduced to grain, and that will aid in the weaning of the calf. When they're introduced to the grain, when they are weaned, they're not just seeing food they've never seen before. They know that they're supposed to eat that, and they're off the milk, so they won't be as stressed, and they'll just get along better in the feedlots in the early couple weeks of weaning. According to the USDA, they believe feedlots produce high-quality beef, grade select or higher, by feeding grain and other concentrates for about 140 days. 140 days compared to 365 plus days for a grass-fed, which option seems more efficient? Tom Vilsack, former governor of Iowa, stated in the Iowa Cattleman's magazine, "Being governor of Iowa for 12 years, I always praised the tasty, juicy, corn-fed Iowa beef." Grass-fed beef is a cheaper way to finish beef, but the market for grass-fed, organic, or all-natural meat is very small in most of the country. On the coast, it's larger because of the more liberal mindsets, but that's only a couple of states. Corn-fed is a more expensive way of finishing, but the turnaround pays that off quite quickly. There is no better way to finish beef than to use grain. The grass-fed just can't produce the proper market weight or lean-to-fat ratio in beef cattle as the corn-fed does. My family has been raising cattle for almost 100 years. Most of the beef we butcher, we sell to customers, and they have never given us any bad feedback. If we grass-finished beef, we could never keep customers' freezers full, nor could we keep our own full. Thank you. Here's my audience.